Uncle is saying, look through the gap in the stairs.
My 4-year-old niece tugged at my sleeve. In front of me lies my husband, unconscious and still, on a hospital bed. A week ago, he was stabbed during a confrontation with a burglar, who is still on the run. After returning home, I recalled my niece's peculiar words and checked the stairs. There, in a tiny crevice, I found something bloodied. I shuddered in surprise. Could it be? An unexpectedly familiar person might be the culprit, and fear gripped me. I work in administration at a real estate agency. Last year, I tied the knot with Michael, one of our salesmen, after an office romance. Both of us are 25 years old, and our shared motto was, we want kids soon. Why? Because I have a sister, and her child, Emma, is incredibly adorable. Whenever I see my 4-year-old niece giggling or pouting, I imagine ourselves as parents. Little Emma possesses a mysterious ability.
Aunt Sophia, your ring is on the bookshelf.
Whenever I misplaced something, my niece would pinpoint its location. Not just once, but repeatedly. Even my sister said,
When in trouble, ask Emma. Somehow, good things happen.
Children are said to see ghosts, but I wonder if there's something more to it? Perhaps our future child will also have special abilities. We had dreams of a family with children. However, unfortunately, our newlywed life didn't go smoothly. Shortly after getting married, we started receiving disturbing letters at home. They were addressed to my husband, and the words written on them were chilling: break up and disappear. Seeing my fear, Michael said,
It's a malicious prank. I'll take it to the police.
He filed a report, but the identity of the letter sender remained unknown. Our days were filled with anxiety. Then, one day, James, my husband's colleague, came to the General Affairs Department where I worked. Why would someone from the sales department visit me? When I approached James, he handed me a piece of paper. Disappear and an eyesore, the same words from the threatening letters we received at home were scribbled on that paper. I gasped, and James looked serious.
It had been on Michael's desk. As a rising star in the sales department, he had made enemies. Many saw him as a nuisance. It was troubling.
James crumpled the paper in his hand and said,
I've known Michael since we joined the company. If anything happens, feel free to consult with me.
He smiled kindly at me. I never expected Michael to be in such a situation. But having an ally is reassuring. My sister also visited our home, worried about us. Despite the unsettling letters, with support from those around us, we stood strong. We wouldn't let the harassment defeat us, and I resolved to support Michael. Little did we know what was about to happen. My sister called in a panic.
Sophia, Michael is unconscious. Come back immediately.
I received her call while attending a friend's wedding. It was a Saturday, and my husband was supposed to be home after working overtime. My sister continued.
Michael was stabbed during a break-in.
Her words were incomprehensible. Rushing to the hospital, I found Michael lying pale-faced on the bed. Michael, wake up! I pleaded, gripping his hand. But he remained motionless. The room echoed with the rhythmic beeping of machines. Tears streamed down my face as I wondered, why is this happening? My sister, who had been waiting in the room, comforted me. According to the police, our neighbor had discovered Michael collapsed at home, bleeding from a stab wound. Apparently, the neighbor had come to deliver a community newsletter, And this person always inconsiderately opens our front door without hesitation. However, on this occasion, that very act turned out to be fortunate, leading to the early discovery of my husband. Given the recent spate of burglaries in the neighborhood, the police suspected that it might be the work of the burglar. No, it must be the same person who sent those letters. I've also consulted with the police. You know that, I fervently explained to my sister. However, she interrupted me, saying,
I'll handle the explanation to the police. Sophia, you should take a break.
Oh, if only I hadn't gone to that wedding. Maybe Michael would be safe. I lamented. I prayed for his recovery, but even after a week since the incident, he remained unconscious. The perpetrator was still at large. Michael, our anniversary is coming up soon. Where would you like to go? I spoke to my husband, connected to numerous tubes in the hospital room, but there was no response. No matter how hard I tried to hold back, tears flowed uncontrollably.
It's hard to stay positive, even when people tell you to.
I turned around to find James, who had come to visit him. He had been checking in on Michael every day, bringing flowers and treats to comfort me. Sorry for showing you such an embarrassing sight. I hurriedly wiped away my tears, but James leaned in and said,
Don't worry about it.
Just then, an innocent voice came from behind.
Aunt Sophia, who's this?
I looked back, and my niece Emma stood there, tilting her head curiously. It was her first time visiting.
Oh, come on.
My sister said curtly to Emma and then greeted James.
I apologize for intruding.
Oh, family? Well, I'll leave you all to it.
With a brief nod to my sister, James placed the flowers down and left the room.
Sorry for the sudden visit. Emma insisted on coming to see Michael.
My sister looked apologetic, but Emma paid no attention. She stood by the bed, staring intently at Michael's face.
Uncle is saying, look into the gap in the stairs. A barge is there.
My niece suddenly blurted out a mysterious statement from behind. A barge? You mean those large ships that transport goods at the harbor? And it's under the stairs? However, my sister insisted.
Emma might have something important to say. Look.
She was dead serious. As we continued, visiting hours at the hospital passed, and my sister drove me home. Before parting ways, she said,
Call me if anything happens.
But seriously, was there really a gap under the stairs? I retraced my memories, unlocked the front door, and headed toward the staircase. During the incident, Michael had been found collapsed on the stairs, covered in blood. The police had collected evidence and cleaned up. Everything was already in pristine condition. There's a gap at the edge of the bottom step. I noticed a faint trace of red blood there. I shone my flashlight inside and saw something reflecting, glinting in the light. I quickly grabbed some tweezers and pulled it out. It turned out to be something unexpected. Isn't this a company badge? In our company, everyone wears a badge with the company logo as an employee ID. The familiar badge was dried, stained with a significant amount of blood. It must have been squeezed into the gap because of the blood. Come to think of it, the police mentioned an unnatural scratch on Michael's fingertip. Could he have pushed something into the gap? The hidden company badge might be a message from Michael indicating who the culprit is. I immediately called my sister.
See? Something was found after all. Let's go together to report it to the police.
As my sister bustled around on the other end of the phone, I heard my niece's voice.
If there's no barge, you need later. It's troublesome for one person. Who's being a nuisance?
What? Another riddle? Is this another clue related to the case? I leaned forward, asking, but all I heard from the phone was Emma's giggles. Emma had accurately guessed something about the space under the stairs, and I suspected this riddle held a clue to the perpetrator. I stared at the blood-stained company badge in my palm. Michael must have left a crucial clue in his desperate struggle, enduring immense pain until he lost consciousness. I won't let Michael's message go to waste. I'll catch the criminal. I vowed to uncover the cowardly perpetrator and seek revenge. Later, I promptly delivered the badge to the police and went to visit my niece. If there's no barge, you need later. It's troublesome for one person. Who's being a nuisance? Emma's words intrigued me. I asked her for more details. Hey, Emma, what does it mean when you say I need a barge later?
It's later.
Wait, you mean too late? Emma shook her head.
No, not like that.
I still puzzled. When you say it's troublesome for one person, who's being a nuisance? Are you talking about the number of people? Would 2 people be less of a nuisance?
No, that's still too many. It's about being bothersome.
My niece wears a smug expression, but the mystery only deepens. I have no idea what she's talking about. I was confused and let out a groan. My sister, equally puzzled.
There must be some meaning to it.
Despite her uncertainty, I decided to leave her house and head to a cafe to clear my thoughts. As I sipped my coffee and pondered, a man in a suit sitting at the adjacent table stood up, leaving his smartphone behind. Excuse me, you've forgotten your phone. He hurried back, relieved, and replied.
Thank you. It's my work phone, and losing it would mean writing an incident report.
At that moment, something clicked in my mind. Finally, the answer to the riddle became clear. I dashed back to my workplace. What followed was a whirlwind of events that revealed the truth. 5 days later, I found myself in a hospital room with my unconscious husband.
It's been a while. Why did you take 5 days off work? I didn't see you at the hospital either. I was worried.
James said during his visit. Ignoring the bouquet he offered, I looked him straight in the eyes and quietly asked, "Despite being so close to my husband that you visit him earnestly, why did you stab him?" James' face turned pale at my sudden accusation.
What are you talking about? Isn't the culprit a burglar?
He smiles kindly as always, trying to play it off. I take the blood-stained company badge I found under the stairs out of my pocket and show it to him.
Is that our company's badge?
The barge my niece mentioned wasn't a ship at the harbor. It referred to the company badge. We've been receiving harassing letters at home. And my husband hid the company badge to reveal the culprit. The culprit isn't a burglar, it's someone close within the company. I look at James with conviction.
You're not seriously suspecting me, are you? After all I've done to care for you.
He reaches for my hand with a strained smile. I push away his hand and show him a copy of his disciplinary report that I found in HR. Emma's statement about needing a barge later meant needing the letter of apology to the company because he lost his badge. 2 days after my husband was stabbed, he wrote the incident report.
Could that be Michael's company badge?
His badge was properly at home. I swiftly dismissed his feeble excuse. James clenched his lips in frustration. But he wasn't giving up. James persisted.
You're shaken because of Michael's stabbing. From now on, I'll be there for you in Michael's place.
His unfocused eyes drew closer. I deftly sidestepped him and pulled out documents from my bag. It was the drive recorder data from the company car he always used. You came to our place at the time of the incident, even though there are no business partners nearby, right? As the data manager for the company's drive recorders, I quickly analyzed James's movements during the incident. Perhaps he had considered erasing the data later, but the company car's recorder was locked to prevent unauthorized tampering. Did you have feelings for me? I asked, watching James squirm. After questioning other colleagues, it became clear that James had secretly harbored feelings for me all along. Furthermore, it was revealed that James resented Michael for supposedly stealing me away from him. Emma's riddle, it's troublesome for one person. Whose being a nuisance meant that if someone already had a spouse, Michael's presence would be an obstacle to their marriage. You held a grudge and harassed us, fearing we might get divorced. That's disgusting. James clenched his fists in anger at my use of the word disgusting.
I liked you much more than Michael ever did. I thought scaring you would lead to a breakup.
He stomped his feet in frustration.
Since the letters alone weren't effective, I decided to put a weapon in your mailbox. I thought it would wake you up in fear.
Unfortunately for him, Michael unexpectedly returned home earlier than planned and caught James in the act of pulling out the knife. James' stomping intensified.
He arrogantly accused me of being the culprit. He said, "Do you realize how terrified Sophia is?" He warned me never to come near his wife again.
So, in your anger, you used the knife you were holding to stab my husband?
Yeah, that's right. It was all for you. Now I just need to finish him off.
James, defiant, rushed toward the bed, attempting to strangle Michael. Desperate to protect my husband, I grappled with James. Then, unexpectedly, Michael's weak voice cut through the chaos.
Enough already.
James froze momentarily at the unexpected interruption. Seizing the opportunity, I pushed James with all my strength. He crashed into the door with a loud thud, and the curtain he grabbed tore apart. The hospital staff rushed in, alarmed by the strange noise echoing through the halls. Call the police! I shouted. The staff gathered around, helping restrain James and making emergency calls. Later, when the police arrived and I explained everything, they took James into custody. He cried out in desperation.
We were so close to being happy.
What nonsense are you spouting? There was never any chance of happiness for you. I stared at James, pushing him away with a resolute tone.
I've loved you all along. I really have.
James continued to sob like a child. But his selfish claims held no sway. The only person I love is my husband. Stay away from me forever, I told him sternly. As James was led away by the police, he muttered. Later, Michael regained consciousness and testified against James, leading to his conviction. James would spend about 7 years behind bars. Michael demanded $15,000 in compensation. Even if James were released, losing his job would likely cause financial hardship. As for me, today I invited my sister and Emma over for lunch with Michael. As we sat around the table, my niece grinned and said,
The new chair isn't just one, it's two.
My husband and I exchanged glances. It seems I'm pregnant with twins. I'll need to visit the obstetrician soon.
How did you find this story? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Until next time.
I'm Hannah, a 30-year-old working housewife. I live with my husband, just the two of us. We've been married for a year, so we don't have any children yet. But we had a fairly enjoyable everyday life. Whenever we had a day off together, we would go out and eat delicious food. We both worked, so we indulged ourselves a little and had fun. At our age, there are many people who already have children, but we weren't pressured to have any. Both my parents and my in-laws seemed to think that we should leave it to the stork's mood. Besides, we were newlyweds, so we wanted to enjoy ourselves while we could. That's how we spend our days, but lately my husband's behavior has changed. He's always sneaking around, and he's cold when I talk to him. He always holds his smartphone, and he takes it with him even when he goes to the bathroom or the bath. When I pointed it out to him, he got very angry. Hey, don't you think you're playing with your phone too much? You take it everywhere, don't you? Can't you do something about it?
What? It's none of your business. What does it have to do with you?
Well, it doesn't, but still. Our conversation has decreased, hasn't it? We're still newlyweds, you know?
Shut up. Are you my mother? Let me do what I want. Do you know who's making this lifestyle possible for you?
What?
I'm the one who earns money and feeds you, so don't tell me what to do. Got it? Understand?
I was shocked by what he said to me. I didn't think he was such a chauvinist, and I was also surprised. Sure, his income was higher than mine. But I worked too. I worked hard, and I wasn't relying on him for everything. Even if I was a full-time housewife, I wouldn't want to be spoken to like that. It was a completely inconsiderate remark, and I couldn't forgive it. He said he was the one who made it possible for me to live, but who did he think was doing the household chores? He helped me with them for the first month after we got married. But he doesn't do any housework anymore. He acts like it's natural for me to do it. I was also annoyed by that. So I talked back to him. Hey, you said who's making this lifestyle possible for you, right? Can I ask you something? Who do you think makes it possible for you to wear clean clothes and sleep in a clean bed?
What?
I'm the one who always does the laundry and makes the bed, right? Wrong. You don't do any housework at all, do you? Don't act so arrogant. Then he got even angrier and hurled horrible words at me. They were so bad that I wanted to cover my ears.
Shut up. I married you, an old hag like you, so you should be grateful. Don't act so high and mighty, you old hag. You're nothing but a maid who earns pennies and does housework.
Excuse me?
No, maybe a slave. Yeah, that's right. You're a perfect slave. Just be quiet and do what I say. And don't tell me what to do. Got it?
He said that while tearing up the beauty magazine that I loved to read, which was lying around. I was going to read it now, and I was very sad. I had been looking forward to buying it every month. It wasn't a big amount of money, but it was quite shocking to me. He was so angry that he exploded in a tantrum. He wasn't like that when we were dating, and I didn't know at all. He didn't even get that angry when we first got married. Maybe this was his true nature. I started to hate him more and more. But he was someone I loved once. Maybe if I tried to compromise a little, we could understand each other better. I thought that, and I tried to understand him somehow. But he didn't seem to want to compromise with me. He didn't help me at all when I was busy with housework. And he didn't take care of me when I was sick in bed with a cold. He even treated me like a germ and told me not to come near him. I didn't catch a cold on purpose, and I wasn't wandering around the house. But it was okay to go get a drink, right? He frowned when he saw me standing in front of the fridge. I felt so hopeless and sad. After that, our relationship didn't improve much. But he bought me a bouquet of flowers for my birthday. Maybe he was trying to compromise with me after all, I thought, and I was happy. I put the flowers in a vase and changed the water regularly. He loves me. Just thinking that, I felt like I could understand him better. As the end of the year approached, there was talk of visiting my in-laws' house. My husband seemed very excited about it. However, as a nurse, it didn't matter to me whether it was the end of the year or not. Since I couldn't take time off, we decided that my husband would go alone. He works for a major company, and it seems he can take time off relatively easily. My husband happily announced that he would spend 4 days at his parents' house.
Well then, I'll head to my parents' place.
Sure, I understand. Sorry, I can't go.
No, it's fine. Can't be helped.
I'll visit just for that one day when I have time off.
Got it.
And so, my husband set off for his parents' house at the end of the year. I headed to work since I had my job. His parents' house is in the neighboring state, about an hour and a half away by car. So, I decided to make the effort to go even on the days I had time off. I work in the emergency department of a general hospital, and the end of the year is especially busy. Patients with acute alcohol poisoning, sudden fevers, and injuries kept coming in. Since we only handle emergencies during the New Year period, both doctors and nurses were exhausted. I was managing such a hectic workload when I suddenly developed a fever at work. After being examined by a doctor, it turned out to be influenza. Feeling terrible and not wanting to risk spreading it to other staff or patients, I was told to go home. Even though it was my night shift, I felt apologetic. Thinking that luck wasn't on my side, I decided to head home. Well, my body was exhausted, so I planned to rest and sleep. And so, I finally arrived home. I unlocked the door with a click and stepped inside. That's when I heard the sound of the shower. Our house has a bathroom right near the entrance. So, the sound of the shower was clearly audible. As I stepped inside, I caught a faint scent of perfume I had never smelled before. I realized everything, but for now, I decided to send my husband a message. Somebody is in the house. Hey, what should I do?
It must be a burglar. Run away now.
Okay. He must be cheating on me, I'm sure of it. And with some woman I don't know, in this house. He didn't love me after all. I was so happy when he gave me that bouquet of flowers that day. I felt betrayed and full of anger. But I quietly closed the door of the house. I didn't want them to notice me, so I closed it as quietly as possible. Then I contacted all of his relatives on his side. Of course, His parents too. Our house is an apartment, and the parking lot is a multi-story one. So they wouldn't find out if I called from there. After waiting in the car in the parking lot for a while, relatives and in-laws arrived. They had quite angry expressions, especially my mother-in-law, who looked furious. And when I gently opened the door again, my mother-in-law burst into the bathroom.
What are you doing?
Oh no!
Eek!
It seemed that my husband and his young affair partner were playing in the bubble bath. Perhaps they had already showered. Even in the bathroom, my husband was holding his phone, but he dropped it into the foamy water. He must have been recording something scandalous. "You've really gone and cheated on me, you scoundrel."
Wait! Listen! It's not what you think. It's not exactly cheating.
What's different? Doing something like this with a woman I don't even know. No matter how you explain it, it's still cheating, isn't it? My husband looked like he was about to cry as he glanced at me. Even the affair partner, tears in her eyes, looked up at me. I absolutely couldn't forgive these two. So, I took out my phone and played back the recording. The truth is, when I entered the house earlier, I had recorded their scandalous conversation. This is undeniable evidence of the affair. This conversation definitely sounds scandalous, doesn't it? How are you going to explain it?
Well, you see, it wasn't serious, just fooling around.
My husband's foolish explanation set off my mother-in-law's anger. And she yelled at them like crazy.
What do you mean it's not cheating? Don't you feel sorry for Hannah? I didn't know you were such a fool.
The quiet father-in-law was also angry and scolded his son. He was very gentle, but I was surprised to see him so angry. And the relatives around them also started to blame them. The husband was cowering in a shameful state. The mistress had already started crying.
You said you had something urgent to do today and left, but you were doing this. You did this to have fun cheating.
Well,
You're no longer my son or anything. You're a stranger from today.
what?
The husband looked very shocked. It was natural, since he was disowned by his own parents. But it was his fault for doing such a thing. He was certainly wrong. One of the relatives was a very scary uncle, and he cursed the husband a lot. The husband was afraid of him and started crying. He was pathetic for a man.
Please, don't blame me so much. I'm sorry.
Me too. Please forgive me.
No, I won't forgive you. I will claim damages from you.
What? Damage.
Wait, please. I don't want that.
Huh? You committed adultery, so you have to pay. If you didn't want to face legal action, you shouldn't have done such a thing in the first place. The cheating partner cried more and her eyes turned red. She would probably have swollen eyes tomorrow. The husband sobbed with a runny nose. I thought he was disgusting. I had no love left for this husband. All I had was hatred. I would never forgive this husband. So I decided to go to a lawyer's office on my day off. For now, I wanted to kick them out of the house, so I packed their belongings. I stuffed the husband's belongings into a Boston bag and threw it outside. I also threw out the cheating partner's expensive-looking bag. I kicked out the husband and the cheating partner and told them never to come back. I don't need dirty people in this house, so don't come in anymore. Bye.
Wait! Please let me in.
Shut up. Be quiet.
Oh.
The in-laws and relatives left by car. The husband and his lover were having a lover's quarrel outside. They were arguing about who invited whom today. Listening to them, I thought they were idiots. They were so noisy that they might bother the people in the other rooms, so I called the police. The husband and his lover were warned and dispersed. That day, of course, the husband didn't come back. He probably went to some business hotel or somewhere. I didn't feel lonely or anything. I felt refreshed. More than that, I had a fever and felt terrible. When I was yelling at my husband, I had forgotten that I had a fever, but I remembered it. I felt drained, so I changed my clothes and collapsed on the bed as soon as I got there. There were some emergency retort foods and drinks in the house. I thought I could manage without anyone. But what on earth was my husband thinking? He said he was going back to his parents' house, but he lied and came back home to cheat on me. I was really disgusted. He knew I was working the night shift and he targeted me that day. How much did he look down on me? I told the relatives and in-laws that I had the flu. I felt sorry for them if I had infected them because I was there. But I didn't hear from them for 2 days, so they must have been fine. But on the 3rd day after I kicked out my husband, he contacted me. He said he had a fever and felt terrible. He must have caught the flu. I wore a mask and stuff, but I must have infected him somehow. And his lover was also delirious with fever. They had a fight, but they were staying at the same business hotel. They both couldn't move and asked me to help them. Despite feeling bad too, what were they talking about?
Genesis and I have a high fever and are delirious. Please come and take care of us.
I'm sick with the flu too, so no way. Besides, what are you saying after cheating on me?
Don't say that. You're a nurse, right? You're so cold.
Did you think I would do anything for you because I'm a nurse? I'm a human being too. I don't want to take care of you. Do whatever you want.
So you're saying it's okay if I die?
Yes, go ahead and die. I don't care, and besides, you won't die so easily. You have thick skin, don't you?
How could you?
Oh, by the way, I'll go to the lawyer's office when I get better. I have a day off on Monday. Maybe I'll be fine by then, right?
Hey, are you serious about asking for compensation? I can't pay that. I gave a lot of money to Genesis.
I don't care. You gave it to her willingly, right? I'll make you pay even if you have to borrow money. Be prepared. And I went to the lawyer's office when I recovered from the flu. I divorced my husband and got compensation from both of them. The lawyer helped me in a favorable way and I was able to get divorced. And I got a lot of money from both of them. My ex-husband had given a lot of money to his mistress, so he ran out of savings after paying me. And his mistress had a fiancé even though she did such a thing. So she had to pay him too. They deserved the punishment from heaven, and I couldn't stop laughing. After that, my ex-husband who recovered from the flu went to apologize to his parents' house. but they turned him away. He contacted me again. He wanted me to let him in the house. But I had no intention of doing that. I decided to move out quickly. My ex-husband said he was supporting me, but I was the one paying the rent. Of course, I was the one who signed the contract. So I was free to move out. I had his parents pick up his stuff. My mother-in-law kindly accepted it and I was grateful. After that, I deleted his contact information. But I heard from a friend that he lost his job and disappeared. His mistress was a coworker of his, but she was harassing other women. She was so disgusting. Now, I live comfortably in a different apartment. I'm busy with work, but I'm happy and have no problems. Life is long, and I want to get married again if I find a good partner. I'll make sure to choose carefully next time.
How did you like this story? Please subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.